Hi there, it's Natasha and thank you so much for joining me today. We have got a really fun technique today where I'm going to take single stamps, just normal stamps, and we are going to turn them into layering stamps. And so it gives them a whole lot more definition and dimension to what would otherwise just be a flat plain stamp. Now, if you've watched my videos in the past, you'll know that the Gina Masking Magic is the masking paper that I prefer to use every single time because there is no ink bleeding with this paper. It is honestly amazing. But today I thought I would try out an alternative, and I haven't tried this myself before. This is the scrapbook.com mint tape, which is a low tack tape, and they have bought it out in this 4-inch tape here as well. So it usually comes in the 1-inch wide rolls, and I am going to create some of my own masks. So I have popped this down onto a piece of acetate. That's just what I find it easiest to kind of peel off. And then I have the Hero Arts Infinity Circle die set. These layering stacking die sets are honestly something that I would invest in if I was starting out card making again. This is a fantastic investment to get these layering die sets, mainly just in sort of like squares, maybe rectangles and circles. Such a good investment. But anyway, I am going to pop these in my die cutting machine, and you can see I have 2 circles there with the mint tape on top, and the reason that I put them on the acetate is so that I can reuse these. I'll just pop them back on the acetate afterwards. Now I'm going to kind of partially have this hanging over the edge. This is directly onto my card base because I wanted to make 1-layer cards. Now I am going to just bend that other little bit around the back there, and that will keep the card closed nicely when I'm working on it. Now, my stamping platform. I get asked a lot of questions about this. This is my favorite. It is the Couture Creations 5.5-inch by 8-inch stamping platform. And it has 4 of these little springs here. You can see they kind of spring on the inside, and there's 4. There's 1 in each corner. And so when you close your stamping platform with the stamps on the inside, you are able to kind of line them all up, and if you're not sure where they're going to hit, then if you don't press down, the ink is not going to reach your paper. So I love this one. I have got a sticky mat, a low tack sticky mat there, and I've kept it taped in there with the washi tape. It has a nice little lip there that you can grab onto to open and close the stamping platform. This is my ultra favorite one. I have had the Misty ones, I have had the Tim Holtz ones, I have had several brands, and this is the one that I get asked about the most. It definitely comes with magnets. You can buy as many magnets as you want, but I think it comes with a couple of them. I get this one from Craft Stash. Now, I will leave links to the US store and the UK store, so if you live in either of those places, then you are able to get this. If you live in New Zealand, I will pop a link for that as well. And then other than that, I'm sure that you can Google it and find other places to find it. But this is my absolute favorite out of every single one I have tried. So hopefully that answers some of your questions. If you have any more questions about it, then perhaps leave them in the description box below this video, and I will do my best to either answer them in another video, or I will just reply back and write as well. Now, I am using this stamp set here called Leaf Clusters, and I'm going to make a couple of these cards, and I've popped my card base down in my stamping platform, and then I decided here that this is where I would make multiples, because I did in fact cut out 2 of those little circles there with the masking paper. And I am going to get the leaves exactly where I want them to be. I've kind of lined them up. Then I'm using some pigment ink, the VersaFine Clair inks, and these are a yellow and an orange. I am going to choose colors that are close to each other on the color wheel, and so that is going to provide a kind of deeper, darker version, and that will create our layering. So I'm just inking this up like any regular stamp, and that's where I can kind of press down on my stamping platform. And I do have one of these little tools recently. If you would like more information about this, I will leave it down in the description box below the video. However, I am going to do a video on these soon as well. Now, coming into the layering part of these stamps, I'm going to get the orange, and I am going to use a finger dauber to apply the ink, because it is a much softer way of applying the ink rather than using the ink pad direct to the stamp. And all I'm going to do is get some ink on my finger dauber, and then I'm just going to go around the outside of these leaves. So I do like having a stamping platform for this technique because it does mean I can swing the lid back and forth, and I really don't want a harsh line. I want this to look layered. I want this to give them more dimension and not have them such flat being one color. And so I am able to flick the lid back and forward, and I'm able to add and build up the color to be as deep and as dark as I would like it to. So I did decide here that I was going to pop a wee bit of red on the very edges as well, but you can see that color building up on those leaves, and this is a gorgeous look. I create 2 cards today, and I'm going to use a completely different color choices for the second ones, but I love these. These are pretty simple. Any stamps that you have in your stash that have a little bit of solid area to them are going to work perfectly, and this means that you don't have to buy those layering sets, which can often be quite large and a little bit more expensive, and you can make them look like there is more than one stamp to each of these leaves. So for the second card here, again, this is one of the advantages to the stamping platform. I don't have to reline up all of my stamps. I've just popped my card base in exactly the same spot, and I'm going to use a pink this time, a bright pink, and then I'm going to use a purple for the kind of layering version of this. Now, I do prefer to use the finger dauber to apply the ink. As I said, it leaves the edges not quite as harsh. However, a couple of alternatives would be, one, using a makeup sponge to apply the ink to the stamps, or if you wanted to apply the ink to the stamps directly from the ink pad, you could always get a little piece of paper towel or a dry tissue and kind of just dab away at the edges to make it a little bit softer where they're going to meet the other color. So there's always more ways to do things than just one. Now I'm going to take the stamps off, rearrange them so that I can fill in some more of the gaps. And again, I guess if you wanted to line this up, you could do this without the stamping platform. I do think it makes it much easier. And for me, this was a really good investment. I have found my favorite one, and I am sticking with this one. I absolutely love the design of this one out of all of them. So I know I do get a whole lot of questions about these. But yeah, anyway, so hopefully that answers some of your questions about them. I'm doing exactly the same technique here where I inked it up with the pink first, and then the purple is going to be the layering portion of it. And then once I have done that pink card, I'm going to go back to the yellows. And as I said, there are lots of stamps in your stash that are going to work with this. I am really enjoying this leaf clusters. I also have the leaf canopy one, and I must admit these feel like 2 investment pieces that are really good stamp sets. They are very versatile, and I have a whole lot of videos that I've already posted and that are coming using these stamp sets as well. Now here is where I would just like to say that I did an experiment and I tried using this masking low-tack tape. Now I am a big fan of the low-tack tape. I have it in the 1-inch rolls, and I purchased a lot of the low-tack tapes on the market, and I mean every single one I could find I purchased. And by far, the scrapbook.com 1-inch mint tape was my favorite low-tack tape by a mile. Now, here is the acetate pieces that I peeled them off to begin with, and I peeled this one off, and there is no bleeding through of the ink through that stamp. But the problem is that we did add a lot of ink. We added a lot of layers of ink, and so I wasn't sure how it would hold up. That is why I prefer the Gina K one, the masking paper, because I can add ink till I'm blue in the face and nothing will ever bleed through that paper. But when I took this one off here, there was a little bit of bleeding through of the pink and the purple. Now, I suspect that if I had just used 1 layer of ink, it would have been absolutely fine. However, I inked it up many times and added ink many times. So to cure that and to kind of get around that, I am going to pop a little die cut white circle on it, and I've just glued that down, and then I'm going to cut off the edge. Even though I wanted these to be completely 1-layer stamps, 1-layer cards, I did have to do a little bit of changing it up. But as I said, it is still a really good option, and it's still my favorite low-tack tape by far. Now I had my little son sitting on my knee here, and he desperately wanted to do some stamping in yellow. Yellow is his favorite color, and so I am going to let him do a little bit here. His gorgeous little hands. Now this is like a boy through and through. So he has a little sun stamp here on a little acrylic block, but watch this. I'm going to hold the ink pad still for him, and he kind of inks it up and then pops it down, and he's going to give it a really good little mush there. And then he goes to town with banging. He likes to really get a good impression. Now obviously when I am filming I delete all of the audio and I do voiceovers for these, but he was giggling his little head off when he was stamping down here. He was having a ball, and I'm just holding the paper up in the corner so it doesn't run away from him. He is leaning towards being left-handed, I have noticed, so he's using his left hand, but the thumping down on the ink pad here is so funny, and I was laughing along with him. Most of all, he was so proud of doing his little stamping and in his favorite color, and he was just trying to kind of put the stamp everywhere that I put my finger to hold down the piece of paper, but the thumping on the ink pad and I thought maybe I can try and teach him a little bit while he's here, and I didn't want to ruin his fun. I wasn't trying to rain on his parade, but I was looking at the stamping down of his hand. It makes me laugh so much, even just seeing it now on video. So I thought I would just show him a little bit. So I'm here and I'm going, see, you can just give it a wee gentle tap and then just a little light push and it will work really well too. And so I let him have another go and he just goes back to it. So he was happy and he was enjoying himself. So this is usually what I end up having to do. We have just been in lockdown here in New Zealand. We are slowly coming out of it, and in fact this was filmed about 10 days or so ago, and we were in a level 4 lockdown, but now we have come out of lockdown, and today is the first day that the kids are back at school. So I'm doing the voiceover by myself, but watching this is really cute, and he had a whole lot of fun. And then he asked if he could take it away and cut it up, so he was sitting down beside my desk and cutting it into little pieces happily. So now I have the Botanical Borders with Sentiments stamp set, and I have got a gorgeous happy birthday stamp that's going to go on this one, and I'm just going to use an acrylic block to do this. I'm getting it all lined up pretty much where I think I want it to go, and then I'm going to stamp this in some VersaFine Onyx black ink, which is a really nice crisp stamping ink, and pop that in the middle. And then for the other card, I'm going to use the chunky greetings, and this one is going to say just for you. And then I figure that this can be for lots of different occasions. Of course, this gorgeous layered stamping look is really fun to achieve, and it could be for any occasion. You could pop any sentiments on it that you wanted to. I'm finishing it off with a couple of little drops of the Colour Pops in black, and that will do it for these single layer cards. Thank you so much for joining me today. I will put links to everything down in the description box below, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks, bye!